It's another week in the For Your Reference household, and it is a Fuqua Washington edition, OT. We're always going to have a nasty time, even if you haven't watched the Equalizer #3, but we would strongly recommend that you go and check out our Training Day review episode in way of other sort of offerings with Denzel Washington, a little known film called Fallen. Let's get on with the show. Hey friends and Pussy Ferrari lovers, welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host KT
and OT.
Infiltrate Pip's book club with exact precision to annihilate enemies of friends you made along the way. Give offerings to the Black Saviour. I'm not talking about OT, to the Black Saviour in the Equalizer trilogy this week.
Woohoo!
Ooh, I guess as we'll say here, spoiler.
What the hell was that?
It was me training for Equalizer 3. Oh my, I guess I set the tone in such a nasty way. Welcome, friends and lovers. If you are new to the For Your Reference household, if you do love a Fuqua and Washington, and that's how you know that you've made it, just by the last names alone. I'm not talking about John David Washington either.
You keep on coming up. Just let the man be.
You didn't think you'll magically see him in Italy just because of Nepo babies? Oh, friends and lovers, we've done event watching before, Fast and the Furious, Halloween. Maybe it's a good thing we didn't get to Insidious, but I'm very excited to talk about the franchise overall. If you want to go and see the stats, we can talk about the stats at another time. But let's get into, I guess, our first impressions throughout the films, just so we can pepper it, and then we'll get to the Equalizer 3 first impressions.
I love the reintroduction of Denzel as a leading action man. Like it gave us the classic Fuqua action.
It was brutal. It was Sisu in the US and in Italy.
It's always good to get the reunion of Fuqua and Denzel again, reminiscent of Training Day and all that. So I was in for it. It didn't disappoint. Like you said, it's always good to get a Black Saviour just saving people out there.
Well, that's credit to you, because you, on our rewatch, on our path to Equalizer 3, you're the one that pointed out he's the Black Saviour.
He is.
Because obviously we had watched the Equalizer, I think definitely after the release of it, but we had watched it a few years ago, and in the lead up to Equalizer 3. It was a lot of fun. It did what it needed to do. I think, like a lot of people, I was like, in a world of Jonathan Wittgenstein's, not to say that there isn't space, but where does like the Equalizer fit? But the Equalizer actually came out a month before the first Jonathan Wittgenstein.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess spank my ass and call me daddy, because I got it all wrong. But I guess, and I guess we can talk more into whether it became more effective or whether it became more obvious. But, rewatching it in the 2020s, like I do understand that Robert McCall has OCD. So, there's a lot of the way that the action was shot, not just him with, folding and unfolding his napkin and tea bags and that sort of thing, but even the way the action was shot was to denote to his OCD and his sort of military position. So I get that. But to watch it in the 2020s, I couldn't help but think of like Robert Downey Jr. with his Sherlock Holmes, or even, your Benedict Plantation Cumberbatch. Hashtag never forget, friends and lovers. With his Sherlock as well, I think there were also moments of him studying the moment and that sort of thing. And I'm not saying that it wasn't effective, but again, I can't not, like, I couldn't not notice it in the contemporary time that it came out. And I guess also, even in the first film, I noticed that the scenes that where he would like estimate, they kind of cut it down in the next sort of films, but particularly in the first one, because I guess that's where they really wanted to, I guess demonstrate the OCD and the way he was timing things so precisely. They would map it all out in his head, and then they would do a blow by blow patty cake action punch kick. And it's like, but you already told me what was going to happen. And now I'm sitting here watching him do it. But then I guess maybe I should be grateful because it is a bit more labored, and I was starting to rub my knee in Equalizer 3.
Wow.
So I guess that's my way of saying the first Equalizer is the strongest one. Let's do a quick summary of the Equalizer 2. I guess, AKA when Pedro Pascal decided to be daddy.
I thought going into this, I know where the sort of plotline would go. But, with McCall sort of losing closer friends.
Okay.
But I didn't expect it to go as hard as it did.
I told you it was pre-Sisu.
No, but it was interesting how it all transpired, and you were right. I think the first one was the strongest of the two.
I don't see a world where someone would argue that the second one is better. And I'm not sure I'm ready to defeat those damp nerds in the corner of the internet and the sub-threads. You just can't, even if you talk about like the final scene in number 2, how it was so money. He had a fucking harpoon, didn't he? Yeah, like even then, that it doesn't even come close to the first one.
I hear you, but it did have some, it did have more action scenes in this. We get to see him sort of expand the realms of what he can do.
Okay.
But as he said, in terms of story, I felt the first one had more, resonance and connected with it more.
What did you think about, I guess this is something that, I guess we can talk about it in each specific movie, but I just want to generally say while we're talking about the Equalizer 2, I didn't like that each film reset, right? So we're building a lot of, Chloe Grace Moretz does a really good job in the first film as Elena, but we never, like the world folds in on itself and then it resets again for the next movie. And even Equalizer 3 does the same thing. So even though it's a franchise, they're really much on their own without the benefit of it being part of a franchise. Does that make sense?
Well, we get the sort of overarching characters coming through, like his CIA buddies.
But then they killed Susan off anyway. But it was a 2-tiered world and it was caving in on itself. So the resetting I didn't necessarily care for. I would say that the Equalizer 2 was weakest, but then I guess the sort of concession I would give friends and lovers is, I'm very interested in storytelling, even in an action film. So I guess that's why I would say it was the weakest. And I do need to correct myself because this was pre-Pedro Pascal becoming daddy. His name was even Dave York. He was the one that moved into the neighborhoods in New York.
Wow.
He was in the Candymans. Okay, well, let's get to our first impressions. Let's get to the main event of today, the Equalizer 3. First impressions, sir?
Equalizer 3 scales new heights in grandeur, overshadowing its predecessors. With Washington and Fanning's nostalgic reunion against Italy's backdrop, it's a cinematic feast, albeit not without its familiar flavors.
I think the flavor tastes like a wanker. Now I see why you called me a wanker in this first impressions in another review. Wow. Okay. Well, let's digest that in a second. Let me give my first impressions. We shift pace in the last offering of Mr. McCall and the lovable friends he meets along the way. Charming remnants of what made this franchise so much fun.
Nice.
Oh, with the illustrious backdrop of Italy, fuck ya. Okay, so let's actually talk about all 3 films, but I guess we can center the Equalizer 3. What all of these films have in common is the big bad. Even though they kind of shift in every sort of film, I kind of want to talk about how effective it was, whether it was effective, whether you felt like one was stronger than the other. In the first Equalizer, we have the Russian mafia. In the second Equalizer, we have like a double agent type situation. And in the Equalizer 3, we have the Italian mafia. So it's a mafia sandwich if you're nasty.
Sure is. I felt that I had more fun when it came to him trying to bring down the Italian mafia.
Interesting.
Just because it felt quite different for some reason. It was nice seeing Denzel in Italy and just...
So it wasn't enough for him to save white Americans. You wanted him to go and save other white people.
Yeah, in Europe.
With an accent.
Yeah.
Well, if you're savior of the world, I guess.
Yeah, he's a globetrotter, why not? But I think part of it is the scene at the start of Equalizer 3. I think that's where it sets the expectations for me.
Interesting.
What the movie would be.
Interesting.
Because we dive into some brutality there.
Final boss KT loading. Interesting, but keep going.
I felt that it set the tone for what I'd expect from throughout the movie, and they didn't disappoint in that regard. As to where the first Equalizer, yes, we get sort of a more settled introduction to McCall, which is nice in terms of story setting. But Equalizer 3 just brings, like, we already settled, we know what to expect, so bring it.
Okay, so... Okay, what I'm about to say isn't necessarily about the themes, but it is about the beautiful limitations of the human body. So let me know, sir. You wish I Mitch McConnell on that, but I didn't.
You need to glitch, bro.
We'll get to where we need to go, but I just need to say this in regards to the Equalizer 3. We've already spoilt a lot of the franchise, but again, spoiler. When we open to the opening scene of the Equalizer 3, we see the war path, we see the blood path, right? And it leads to Robert McCall. And we're just supposed to believe that he did all of that. And it wasn't until later on in the film where they did a flashback on how he did it. I'm pretty sure Fuqua was the one holding the camera and punching and stabbing them all. Like it was already showing the limitations in which they were able to shoot the action scenes from the opening.
Nah, bruv. It's not exactly The Irishman where we get Robert De Niro trying to kick.
Got that little chicken wing.
Chicken wing arm. Not to that level. Fuqua was very creative in how he shot those scenes to make it feel...
Liam Neeson's climbing the fence. Have we got like a scale now?
It wasn't that shaky.
You've got Denzel Washington in the Equalizer 3, then you got Liam Neeson's in Taken's, and then you've got Robert De Niro in The Irishman.
Nah, it wasn't that shaky. I felt like he did quite well in terms of shooting those.
But come on, we watched 1 and 2 leading up to 3.
We did.
So we saw how quick with it Denzel was. He was leaving with something in 1 and 2.
He was leaving with something. But I think the good thing was there are way older people in that movie than Denzel. So
even the old lady on the stairs. She's like, best protect your neck.
I did not know you're going to come with that. You're ridiculous. Far out.
But that wasn't even the theme. So if we talk about the big bad are fucking film critics that talk shit about the Equalizer 3. I think on paper, the biggest bad, I guess the most compelling biggest bad would be the double agent sort of component. Mm-hmm. But again, the world fell in on itself because it didn't do the groundwork that it needed to do. Like if we go back to Jonathan Wilkinson, for example, the high table being excommunicado, that has gravitas, that has weight to it because of the way it was set up in the world. You tell me Daddy Pedro Pascal, Dave York is going to betray me? Fine. Woohoo!
Yeah, and I guess that's where, if you're going to say that, you set a new scene and you say, these are my old colleagues, your best friends, and there was no reference to it in the first movie.
Actually, yeah, there were no remnants, no
'cause
mention.
of course, he has a past, and that's the introduction of McCall.
Yeah.
We don't know his past, and I think the second one is trying to set that a bit more.
Yeah.
But it still felt quite disconnected from, because I didn't care.
Yeah.
I couldn't buy the emotional buy-in between his buddies betraying him or trying to kill Susan, because in as much I felt the gravitas of Susan dying and how it affected McCall, because
you felt it, or you could see
I felt that.
Okay.
But the betrayal aspects between him, his buddy agents, it just felt like it was other big bad people,
it was
not
just
close
office
to home.
politicking.
Yeah, it didn't feel close to home for McCall. In terms of the betrayal aspect of it.
Yeah.
It just felt this could be a mafia group from wherever doing it,
And I know Peter Stormare is Swedish, but I just love him with his Russian accent talking about using a pencil for death. And I guess if we round off the big bad sort of theme, going back to the Equalizer 3, I feel like the richness of cinema, and I extend that to the growing quality and production of television programming, allows us to be able to access storytelling, that we probably wouldn't have been able to access 10, 15, 20 years ago. And the reason why I'm saying that is Gamora exists. Le Immortal exists when we get around to it. So if I wanted to watch a gritty drug game story in Italy, I would watch a production that was made there. I didn't need to see our best friend hold on to the handrail, Robert McCall. I didn't need to...
You're trash.
Was he not holding on to the handrail? Those Italy steps be tricky, bruv. But what I'm saying is, because you're saying it felt good to change the backdrop, for me, I'm like, I could watch an Italian-made show or film about this. I didn't need him to go on vacation or to live a new life in order to explore storytelling set in Italy, right?
I would say that Denzel in Italy is something that you never knew you wanted to see until you see it.
Saw it.
No, I felt it brought a fresh aspect to the movie. It was something new, new characters, especially after everything that happened with the second Equalizer.
Yeah. You're saying new and fresh, but you also said earlier they put old people around him. So which one is it?
I don't know. You're ridiculous.
Also, your words have no meaning? Is that what you're saying?
I meant in terms of setting. I felt in terms of environment and just creating a sense of him trying to turn a new chapter.
Okay.
Especially after everything that transpired with the second one, because he's lost everything and he's trying to bring new meaning to his life where he's going to draw new connections. And he went in as much to say that he felt home at the end of it. He felt like he's found his people.
Why are you laughing?
Because I can see your face and I know what you're going to say.
I didn't say anything.
He found his people. In the second movie, we get to see McCall rescue a black person, which I think that's a unicorn moment in this franchise, and I appreciated it. In as much as I love his Black Saviour, around the world, it was good to see him save Ashton Sanders, who was playing what was it, Miles?
Okay, friends and lovers, I hope we are respected in some form, because this review episode is not it. But also, if we can digress for a second, he would be an anti-Black Saviour if he only saved white people. Can we be real?
But we are just assuming that all the other black people are safe because no one would ever go after them because McCall is at the helm.
Is this a Key and Peele sketch where the zombies...
Exactly. I would be in that world.
Well, if there's ever a moment to go on a tangent, it is always about our Black Saviour OT over here. I'm Cootie. I have to turn off the podcasting equipment when you start going on your rants. Oh, man. Let's get into the next theme. Let's talk about the friends and lovers we meet along the way and needing or wanting to save them. Again, I've got to give this to one of the earlier sort of offerings. I got to give this to the first Equalizer film because it did the most work in order to get us to care about the characters that Robert McCall starts to care for. You know, we see that with Alina, and she really is the core of it. We also have, you know, his friend working in the Home Depot sort of equivalent as well. And for me, if the franchise was just Robert McCall on his random adventures, what do you call it? Renegade. Like just renegading around, helping random people, I would be absolutely there for it. I think also the reason why I think the first one is the strongest is because it did try to stay the most insular. When it started focusing on the Russian mafia and trying to take them down, I kind of like, cool, we get it. We've seen it, you know? So I was kind of just trying to stay in the insular sort of stories, but I guess it wasn't to be.
I hear you, but I'll raise Dakota Fanning as Emma.
But did she really do the thing?
Nostalgia plays a big thing.
I suppose.
Was it? What did it not?
Is nostalgia what compelled his body to rip through all those bodies?
Granted.
The nostalgializer?
Friends to save along the way. Alina is by far the most emotional that we've been connected to in terms of anyone that, even more so than Susan, because Susan dies in the background.
Yeah.
Without him even knowing she was in trouble.
With a Tupperware of soup. You couldn't have just swung around the Chinese restaurant around the corner? Got to get your nutrients in if you're going to hold on to the handrails in the Italy steps.
Bruh. Yes, Alina is by far the most that we've been emotionally invested in. Anyone that is being saved. Even more so than Miles in the second one.
Yeah, I got a lot of time for Ashton Sanders. We love Ashton Sanders.
But can we just say something about Miles' character? He knows he's hiding behind a false wall. He sees that people are there, you know, they've just left. But even before the door closes,
idiot,
the guy walks out.
Idiot.
I would be there until morning.
Yeah.
What was he doing?
What was the point of Robert McCall installing all of these cameras for a moment like this? Literally, a moment like this. He's giving Ashton a play-by-play on how to hide, right? Hide securely. Be safe. The most you can do is not be a liability, right? What a fucking waste. What a fucking waste of his prowess, acumen, gravitas to do all of that just for him to walk out. So yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, I was like, come on, man. You you're not helping yourself at this point.
Yeah.
For the third one, we don't really care about any of them, really.
Yeah.
We don't know them. He doesn't even know them, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know, he's learning. He's getting to see these characters as we go along with him. So there's not that emotional, oh, you need to be saved. It's more, I want to set roots in Italy, you know?
Yeah.
And fair enough. I'll give you that. The first one, hands down, when it comes to Alina. Even though Emma, Dakota, and just Washington seeing them, reminiscent of Man on Fire, it just warmed my bloody heart.
Is Man on Fire worth watching?
But we've watched it together.
Now I'm Mitch McConnell. There you go. There's your callback, friends and lovers. Okay, so which big bad did you say was the better big bad out of the three films? Do you still stick with Italian Mafia?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say it was the double agents. It had the most potential. I don't think any of them executed. Who would you say were the most compelling friends and lovers to save?
Alina, hands down.
Yes. If Miles had tried to help himself, then it would have been him. So let's get into the next theme, but I guess in this case, it's more of a trope. The dead catalyst. So in the first Equalizer, we have the dead wife. The second Equalizer, we have the dead friend. And the third Equalizer?
Don't tell me you're going to say the dead joints. Because I know you. Ridiculous.
If I can use an Archer reference, let's go with that. That one's better. Oh, OT.
Oh, far out. I think when it comes to death surrounding McCall, I think the dead wife is carried along throughout the entire franchise.
What was the emotional weight carried?
Yeah, because he lost the person that grounded him, and
no, but that's all implied. That wasn't exemplified.
It's implied, but they're telling us, they're building that backdrop throughout.
But telling is just exposition, bruv.
No, like in the second one,
What is telling if not exposition persevering?
But in the second one, we get Susan coming over with a bowl of soup, because it was the wife's birthday. Things like that. It builds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, but but then that becomes a connection between McCall and Susan. We still haven't met the wife. We still haven't, because honestly, you gotta compare the two. Jonathan Wilkinson and the Equalizer. They both had dead wives.
I think I didn't care that much that we didn't get to see her.
Yeah, but we know why. There's documented instances of why.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Like, we've watched Spartacus, we saw Sura in every bloody instance.
Yeah.
As long as Spartacus blinked, Sura was there.
Heart and mind indeed, my friend.
I don't think we needed that for McCall.
Okay. But you also said that it's not as emotionally pulling as it could be.
Leave me alone.
Oh, so you would like a dead wife too? Is that what you need? You just need the memories. You just need a taste.
Just a taste.
You just need a little something. I just because we say it a lot, when we're watching things. If you're crafting, we're not talking about a documentary. If you're crafting a narrative, if you're writing a film, if you're writing a television show, don't kill off people without any sort of impact, without any sort of emotional resonance. Don't waste the kill.
Mm-hmm.
When we think about The Wire, we even think about Snowfall. But you know what I mean? Like, don't waste the kill. There needs to be a reason. And I think it's so easy to just insert a dead wife to be like, I've got man punches for my feelings.
I can see where you're going with that. Maybe it would have given us a better connection between, even Denzel and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I felt like it was enough for me to sort of fill in the blanks a little bit, that I could see how the absence of McCall's wife affected him or made him who he is, or trying, even bringing him back to the game.
Yeah.
I could feel that. I really didn't think that it distracted too much, but I guess now that you've brought it up, it could have been nice if we got a few scenes at the start just to build that life before he became the man alone in a coffee shop, just playing with napkins. I could see that.
Is that a euphemism?
Don't know.
Hands at all times, sir. Hands at all times. In true FYR fashion, this is an action franchise and we're talking about the action now. Thoughts, feelings, where was it most effective for you?
Oh, most effective. I think the second one takes it just because it had so much more and it had so much more to play with as well. We had different environments where that happened, while in the third one, it's set in Italy, but it's sort of confined, even though I felt the third one had a bigger budget to go with.
Oh, yeah.
We got explosions.
Oh, yeah.
We got some good things.
Not designated survivor. Hashtag never forget.
Just, you don't need to see it.
Yeah.
You can be told there was an explosion. Nah, I could, it felt more grandiose, but I think the second one, just because we get to see even him having to be at his A game because he's going up against, similar trained agents.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Second one, goes for it.
It's so hard for me to separate storyline from action, because if you're nasty, there's always emotion in the motion, So I don't know. I guess, yes, if you're talking about action, because the timing of precision and the, coordinating and then playing out the whole scene after the planning scene, that kind of got a bit laborious. So yeah, I think I would concede and agree with you.
Nice. And I think
in the rain as well.
I know you compare the shooting to, being shaky and whatnot, but I still feel that it was done sort of better than we've seen in Taken, where Taken just felt like Dog just covering up a lot of shit.
Bro, Taken's not even allowed in the chat. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying.
Taken's been mute, blocked, deleted, reported. Taken is in the same bar that Liam Neeson's is in Atlanta. We're here for the deep cuts, friends and lovers.
Wow.
You know what's so interesting? When you go onto Don Cheadle's Algae Rhythm internet in the IMDb trivia, you know, the first two films, they focus so much on the fact, because, you know, I didn't even notice, and also respectfully, I don't even care. But there's so much trivia about, oh, you'll notice that Robert McCall barely uses a pistol. He uses it against them, so they're shooting the pistol and all this. And at the end of the day, I actually don't care. Like, you know, even if you want to be Batman and you want to start shooting, that's cool as well, you know?
I would say as my favorite, one of my recent favorite Batmans was him when he was shooting people. Ben Affleck is underrated as Batman. I love that.
Okay.
I enjoyed that.
Okay, burner Batman boy. Put it away. But what I was saying was the IMDb trivia is so interesting because it's so meticulous in explaining. I don't know if it's a moral thing, but just the fact that Robert McCall doesn't use bullets and he doesn't use many, but he uses the harpoon in number 2. That's one of the facts as well. But it's so funny how there's so much care from the fans and people putting it in IMDb trivia. Next minute, you cut to Equalizer 3 where he fucking shoots through the head and uses through the head to shoot another person. And you're retired, so aren't you supposed to be like chilling out on your skills?
Oh, he was like, oh, this Italians don't know what I'm about. Let me teach them.
Let me take it back biblical style. So you prefer the action of the second one?
Yeah. In as much as I felt that the action scenes in the third one were more gruesome, the second one just goes, I think, different. I think even, like you said, the potential of what the second one could have been in terms of the storyline with the big bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I think those just so more tantalizing morsels that we could have gotten.
Oh, absolutely. Also, I didn't want to distract by talking about our favorite Tyrese baby boy Gibson, but it's kind of a similar sort of scenario with the Equalizer. When we started watching the Fast and the Furious franchise, we thought it was John Singleton that got signed onto the film, and then he brought in Tyrese, right? Because once we knew that Singleton was directing, and then we saw Tyrese, we're like, oh, okay. And then you realized it was the other way around. Tyrese got attached to Fast and Furious franchise, and then he brought on John Singleton. That's how this was. So we can talk about Gerard Butler in a second because he was potentially considered for the role of Robert McCall. Denzel got attached to it and he suggested Anton Fuqua.
Nice.
To direct these series. Yeah.
Oh, you gotta love that.
What do you think about a Gerard Butler Equalizer?
Isn't that what Geostorm is?
I wouldn't know. Because I'm not a fucking nerd.
I don't know, man. Like, he was really, really good in 300. And I think...
Bro, that's too much. That's like Super Saiyan level on these little... No!
What?
That's too hard, bro.
He was, you know, I think he hasn't gotten to the point where he has had...
Would you want Gerard Butler fist fighting our Pedro Pascal? You'll knock the mustache off him, respectfully. Because we know Pedro Pascal is a lover, not a fighter.
Oh, wow. Not in this.
Against Gerard Butler, though? In the rain? We'll fight in the shade. Fuck you.
Are you saying Gerard Butler would be more intimidating than Denzel in the streets?
Are we talking about American Gangster Denzel? Or are we talking about the Equalizer 3 sipping on some latte in Italy?
I'm talking about Training Day Denzel.
Okay.
I think he'll bring the goods.
I don't think I would be intimidated. I think I'll be feeling other things in my loins.
Nonsense.
Ooh, well, I guess we need to air out the studio, friends and lovers. Is there anything that you want to say about either of the films or about the franchise generally?
No, like I appreciate the fact that we get to see Denzel and Fuqua work in such a body of work together, and watching the third one, in as much as I had like faults in there, it was good. We get to see Dakota and Denzel again. Oh, love. Overall, the franchise is solid. I think just seeing Denzel in anything is a win.
That's exactly the point, though. You go to watch something because Denzel's in it.
Yeah, and?
It's exactly what we were talking about it in a review episode recently when I said, I don't consider Denzel an action star because for me, that restricts the whole breadth of his work and his range.
Oh, he can be anything he wants.
I saw Emancipation. Will Smith stays an action star.
Come on now.
How come you spit on me, man? But like, I'm always going to be there for Denzel. I'm always going to be there for Fuqua. But yeah, it's nice to, lay this franchise to rest.
Nah, man, Fuqua could have stayed away from Emancipation, bro. We did not need that.
No, we didn't.
We did not.
Nobody needed that. But I because the way I say it is, I'll catch you on the next one. You know what I mean? Like, I'll always be here for Denzel and Fuqua. It doesn't need to live and breathe inside of this Equalizer. In saying that, though, the only correct answer is Queen Latifah's TV series, The Equalizer. That is some age-appropriate action right there.
Oh, you cannot go wrong with Cleo as an Equalizer.
Is that your favorite Queen Latifah, by the way?
It is. I think Cleo is movie.
Oh, but my favorite Queen Latifah is The Last Holiday. Because we're just a couple of wholesome gals.
I don't know about that, but okay.
But also, there have been rumors or maybe some speculating if there's going to be another Equalizer. I would actually be in for a prequel.
Oh.
I don't know why people were saying Michael B. Jordan, though.
Oh, that would go with John David Washington.
No.
You don't want Malcolm and Marie level of performance there?
Friends and lovers, this is how you end a relationship and how you end a podcast. Anyway, I would be very much interested in, because, we say we're not interested, but I would actually be interested to see what early Robert McCall looks like.
100%.
And him and Susan were fucking, that's for sure.
Oh, there are some threesomes out there.
Right on top of the wife's corpse.
Mm-hmm.
It got spicy, friends and lovers.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference, OT.
Oh, you know what I'm going to say already. Training Day.
Because?
King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
Oh.
Oh, is that your way to bring Gerard Butler into the mix?
No, I'm the natives in King Kong.
Wow.
That's a gift to the friends and lovers that stay all the way to the end here. I think it's no surprise I'm going to reference Jonathan Wickenston. One of the best movies coming out this year.
Voice.
If you would like to revert your excommunicado on Twitter, Instagram, and Spill, we're at For Your Reference.
Write us an email at hello@podcast.com.
We're also on Ferrari Pussy Podcast if you'd like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.